So guys, here we are, MMA UK News. Obviously myself, Stoomboy, as always, for the MMA UK BJJ show. So talking about Grapplefest 10. Grapplefest 10 is going to be at Fusion Nightclub in Liverpool, 20th or Saturday the 20th of November. Event kicks off at 4 p.m. and we've got 6 hours of grappling, which is going to be headlined by Dante Leon and Oliver Taza for the under 80 kilo interim belt. So as the tickets availability is directly from the fighters or through the Grapplefest Facebook page, which will then take you to Eventbrite. Tickets, I believe, are £32.93, which does include the booking fee. But as I mentioned, if you can get them directly from the fighters, obviously speak to them first. If not, Eventbrite will have them on. So my next guest, obviously, Dante Leon. Dante has been on Grapplefest a couple of times before. We absolutely love seeing Dante. Dante is a very, very exciting grappler and always a fan favourite when he comes over to the UK. So as I mentioned, Dante is going to be up against Oliver Taza. So, Dante, listen, absolute pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so how are you feeling? You're looking good?
Yeah, man, I'm feeling good. Training's been going really well. Everything's been pretty to plan and pretty on schedule. The goal at the beginning of the year, I was kind of off for a little bit. Wasn't really as active with competitions, and now this later part of the year, I've been pretty active, having some good results, and looking to just keep it rolling until the end of the year.
Definitely. And I mean, how did COVID? Because obviously COVID's a big subject. So how did that affect yourself, or certainly in regards to any training and things like that?
I honestly didn't miss a day of training. I would just have a smaller group, like whoever I was living with or whoever was kind of close to me at the time, who I didn't have to intermingle too many households or anything. So I honestly didn't miss a day of training. But I mean, the training's not going to be the same when one, the group's not as big, and two, you don't really have anything to prepare for. You know, you kind of just feel like you're spinning your tires a little bit because you don't have any kind of goal or any kind of tournament that you're preparing for. You just never know when you're going to be called up. So honestly, It was like training for many months, not really knowing what was going on, and got a call like 8 days before a show, and that was the first time I came back in late May.
Yeah. So how's it back then competing? So obviously now that you mentioned from May, how is it back on the competition scene for yourself?
Oh, it's great. Like, as far as everything goes, I think competition now is at the highest level. I think everybody's at. I think this is like the purest form of jiu-jitsu and submission grappling that we've seen, possibly ever, as far as the action and the technical ability of the athletes. So I think that that's really special, and I think everything's pretty close to normal now. I mean, I competed at IBJJF Nogi Worlds. It was the biggest Nogi Worlds ever. My division was bigger than I could be wrong saying this, but I think my division was bigger than any black belt division in the history of Nogi Worlds. It had like over 50 people in my bracket. So it's really nice to see that everything's kind of come back to normal. You know what I mean? Everybody's pretty normal. Nothing too crazy. I mean, there's still some little hoops to jump through, I guess, but nothing too crazy anymore.
Certainly. And what about, I mean, obviously coming over to the UK, is there anything that you've had to do COVID-wise to come from where you are over to the UK in regards to like tests and things like that?
I don't really know 100% of like the rules on what I'm going to need to do to cross, but I know every time I cross into Canada, I have to get a test done. You know, all my family's from Canada, and anytime I want to go back and visit, even though I have a visa and status in the United States, I have to get a COVID test done. Even though I have my vaccine and both doses now for a few months, I still have to get a test done. So I'm sure the same kind of thing's going to happen. Small price to pay, though, to be able to come back and get back into Liverpool and get back on in the Fusion nightclub and get into that awesome crowd that Grapplefest has, man.
Definitely. And I said, you a couple of times, you've been on, I think twice before. So what's obviously this will be your third time. So what's your thoughts then of the actual venue and obviously the crowd and so on?
I love the feel of the crowd in the venue, man. It feels like the people are right on top of you. You know, you got those two levels of people. There's not a lot of separation. Everybody has a good vibe in there. The energy is really good. Pretty intense, but still pretty chill at the same time. And then, you know, everybody, as soon as the last match is over, man, like as soon as Taza and I are done, everybody's gonna cut out of that club and flee towards downtown Liverpool. So it makes for a fun night. Makes
Yes.
for a lot of good connections, good people there. You know, downtown Liverpool. Anybody who's ever been, it's just loads of fun and pretty calm and pretty chill environment. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's got a great setup for an event, man.
Definitely. And then obviously your opponent then, Oliver Taza. So obviously you'll know Oliver Taza through obviously the competition scene and then so on.
Yeah, I've known Taza for a really long time, and the funny thing is that we never had a match with each other. A lot of times we'd be in the same divisions ever since purple belt and never had a match with each other. So it was something that everybody was always talking about, but it was a match that you know, for some reason or another just didn't happen. Whether he and I were getting spoken to about the match, just one side or the other didn't comply and didn't get on board with the match. But now finally, it's been one that I've been hearing for a while, and it just makes sense. Taz has been improving quite a bit as far as his results and competition goes. I think he's showing a lot more complete game, especially than he used to. So I think it's a match that really makes sense.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks that it's interim title, you know, quote unquote interim title, but you know, is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So this match has been a long time coming then.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, since 2015, I can remember the first time I knew who Taza was, and he was in my division. We were in the same division at a purple belt tournament, so it's like kind of crazy. We've been in the same divisions at purple, brown, and black, and all kinds of different invite tournaments and things like that. Just never ended up getting matched against each other, so it's kind of weird.
Yes, yes. And then what's next for you? So obviously, you mentioned there. Obviously, you just came back from the World No Gi. Obviously, you've got Grapplefest 10 coming up next month. So what's your future plans, Dante?
Future plans. I mean, biggest plan and biggest goal, biggest focus is ADCC 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's like the big plan. But if we're talking about short term, you know, I want to win the title at Grapplefest. You know, I know it's interim. I know Lachlan has the title. So after this match, hopefully, if all things go well, I can have a match with him. But, you know, Lachlan seems like he's kind of not really competing or focused on competition. So I
Yeah,
think either he's got to defend the belt or just give it up and let somebody else have it. So
definitely.
and then I would love to be, you know, 170-pound champion on as many events and as many cards as I can, man. So that's like the
Certainly.
goal. The goal is to be the best. The goal is to be number one on the planet. You know, I've been knocking at the door for a long time. I've been top 4 for 4 years now. You know what I mean? So I just been bouncing around between number 2 and number 4 forever.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of old, man. So I really got to kick the door in this year and get the number 1 spot. End
Yes.
goal is 2022 ADCC champ.
Definitely. And then we did have a question come in from Patrick Rowan up in Scotland. So Patrick's saying, do you cut back or change your lifting? So I'm presuming he's talking about weightlifting in
Yeah.
the lead up to competition, or do you keep everything the same?
If I have a competition coming up, I definitely adjust it. I definitely try and peak the intensity a good amount before the competition, so that way I don't get burnt out or fatigued or any kind of risk of injury or unnecessary risk of injury. I guess there's always a risk of injury when you're training. And then the week of the tournament, let's say if the match or the tournament's on Saturday, I'll do very little lifting, things that are kind of active recovery, like kettlebell swings and some more plyometric movements, some lighter movements just to kind of keep my body active. Or I might do nothing. You know, it kind of depends on how I feel. But the week before is there's no strength that's going to be gained. There's no grind that's going to be had the week before the tournament. So that's where the biggest adjustment lies.
Definitely. And then any black belt jiu-jitsu knowledge that you can put onto any of the viewers, so anything that, or any advice that you can give anybody that's coming up through the ranks?
Man, so people who are coming up through the ranks, I really like preach this a lot. I think that people should study and kind of learn a little bit about the sport. You know, there's too many people in the sport who claim that they want to do this as a career or say that this is so important to them, but they don't know uh, great athletes of the past and even great athletes of today that aren't so mainstream. So I think that if this is something that you're serious about, man, you need to learn how to love this thing. You need to learn how to study. You need to learn how to enjoy, and you have to educate yourself on a lot of the grapplers that are out there. You have a lot of people who just know certain people who are in the media, and I think I'm pretty fortunate enough to be a guy who is very popular and very good on the scene of competitive jiu-jitsu, and I'm somebody who's kind of in the mainstream. So I feel like people know me and people recognize me, but there's a lot of people out there that are right on or be at the top as well that just aren't in the limelight as much. You can
Yes,
say it's a lot of reasons, but I think it's up to the practitioners and the ones who say that they love this sport to study and become familiar with the athletes. So I think that's a big one.
definitely, definitely. And then final thing for you then, Dante. I see you've been in the game for a long time, for a good number of years. So anybody you want to shout out to, so any friends, family members, teammates, or sponsors that you may have.
Yeah, I mean, as far as sponsors go, Monkey Tape, Armbar Soap, Perry Athletics, CBD Distillery, the support across the board. It's a good mix of companies. I get a good mix of things from all of them, and they always support me regardless of what's going on in life, what's going on in my career. So I have to take my hats off to them. My team back home, Adamus Jiu-Jitsu, Pedigo Submission Fighting. Actually heading up to Pedigo's to go train at Daisy Fresh right now. We're about an hour out. So big thanks to all those guys. Big thanks to everybody back home. And yeah, man, I just wear everybody on my back. I carry everybody on my back when I go out to compete all the time, man. So all the people that help me
Definitely.
out, all the people who are part of the journey, there's so many people to name, from friends and family to all the people I train with, all the people who are in support of me. They have my love always. So always, again, once again, now I'm here. Thank you, everybody.
Definitely, definitely. Well, listen, Dante, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. So, guys, listen out to Grapplefest 10, 20th of November, Saturday, the 20th of November. We're going to see Dante Leon first time against Oliver Taza for that under 80 kilo interim belt. So make sure you're there and watching, because this is going to be an absolutely fantastic main event to watch. So Dante, listen again, absolute pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for your time today.
Oh, thank you, man. Glad to be here. And man, everybody watching, check it out. Don't miss it, man. It's going to be a great show. There's a bunch of other great fights on the card. So once
Yes,
again, I really appreciate you having me on, man.
thank you. Well, listen, stay safe, train safe, and I'll see you next month, Dante.
Sounds good, brother. Take care.
Take it easy, brother.
Bye.